Hello, it's another beautiful week. It's another time to do an analysis of how the various media platforms have been publishing the big stories of the week. Hello, this is Citi TV broadcasting from Tesano in Accra in Ghana, West Africa. My name is Umaru Sandamado, sitting in as usual for Vivian Kailoko, who is out on other assignments. And on what the papers are saying, we're going to analyze a number of key issues that have come up and how the various publications have captured them and do analysis here. I'll introduce the topics for us as soon as we return and also tell you who is joining me for the discussion tonight. So it's a show called What the Papers Are Saying on Citi TV, broadcasting from our studios in Tesano in Accra. We do this every Thursday for you, and we rebroadcast this for you on other days where you get to see how we've angled or how the various news portals have angled the stories. I always remind you that newspaper is the oldest medium of news communication, and so many people hold the view that it's a dying industry, but is it? Many of them have also gone digital. So on this platform, we look at the newspapers and also look at the digital platforms, how they have been publishing the story. So the big stories we're looking at, one of them is the killing of a soldier at Kasoa, Millennium City in the central region this week. A number of publications have brought that story up. Let's look at how the Ghanaian Times published that story. So the Ghanaian Times said, soldier shot dead at Kasoa, Millennium City over land dispute. Ghana Armed Forces condemns act. That's how the Ghanaian Times captured it. It has on the front page the photo of the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, talking about some other issues relating to TUC. The Daily Guide says, Kasuwa soldier killer grabbed. Kasuwa soldier killer grabbed. That's how the top left corner of the Daily Guide, that's how they've headlined that particular story. CitiNewsroom.com, Kasoa, Ghana Armed Forces begins probe into murder of soldier at Millennium City. That is how it was captured. So those are the publications relating to the soldier who was killed by a man who has since been arrested. We'll talk about that. Another story we have an eye on is a Jisu by-election. It happened on Tuesday. You do know that it was a keenly contested election. At the end of the day, the winner had some 10% margin. So let's see how the newspapers have been publishing or reporting on that. The Daily Guide says Boatin retains a Jisu MPP seat. So Boatin being the MPP's candidate for that particular election. The Ghanaian Times said NPP retains a Jisu parliamentary seat. Now that seat was held by the NPP, MPP's John Kuma, who died in March, and there has been a need for a replacement, and so that replacement was elected on Tuesday. The Anchor newspaper says NPP to begin door-to-door reconciliatory talks to curtail emergence of independent candidate. The independent candidate really gave the NPP a run for its money. An independent candidate who was once a member of the New Patriotic Party. He was their MP and decided to go independent. MyJoyOnline.com says a Jisu by-election, NPP MP for Kwada, so Kingsley Nyako fingered in alleged electoral malpractice. That is one of the big stories that have been running throughout the days since the by-election. Another story, CitiNewsroom.com, a Jisu by-election, NPP defends Kwada, so MP of alleged bribery incident. That's the Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. And then the same website has a Jisu by-election, don't condemn officials. We are probing content of envelope. That's Electoral Commission. So that Electoral Commission did its preliminary investigation and said that the envelope that was given to the Electoral Commission staff contained money, which was meant to be for their lunch. Now, this week also, we celebrated the MayDay was on Monday. Not on Monday, on Tuesday. Actually, on Wednesday. What am I saying? And it happened here in Accra. The President of the Republic, Nana Akufo-Addo, graced the occasion. There were some rains around the celebration, but it still went on regardless. So let's see some of the key headlines that emerged from the MayDay celebration. The President spoke and he said Dumsor was over. The Daily Guide captures it as Dumsor is over. Nana Ghanaian Times says, at MayDay celebration in Accra, let's protect our democracy. President Akufo-Addo tells Ghanaians, or tells organized labor. CitiNewsroom.com, power supply challenges resolved. Dumsor will not return. That's an emphatic statement by the President Akufo-Addo. CitiNewsroom.com again, Dumsor not over. Akufo-Addo's claim misleading. That's the Institute of Energy, IES. Energy Security, Institute of Energy Securities. So that's on Dumsor. Let's look at other stories. Attorney General's advice to EOCO on Cecilia Dapaah. She's back in the news. The Attorney General has written a letter to the EOCO, which letter has become public and has generated a lot of controversy. So the Daily Guide says Cecilia Dapaah case, AG rejects SP's money laundering allegation. And CitiNewsroom.com says AG advises EOCO against money laundering probe into Cecilia Dapaah's affairs. And the latest development on that particular story is that former President John Mahama, the NDC flag bearer, said if he is to be re-elected in 2024 to become president from 2025, he will revisit that particular probe. The background, Cecilia Dapaah was Minister for Sanitation. She has since left the Akufo-Addo government. The issue currently is with the CID. We wait to see what happens, but it appears that the SP has washed his hands off. The EOCO, we're waiting to hear what it will say after this advice from the AG. Now the police may be the last stop, and the issue of whether she will be charged or not with money laundering is a matter that will be discussed later as the lawyers for the state determine whether or not she has really committed a crime. This is what the papers are saying on Citi TV. We are coming to you from our studios in Tesano in Accra, and like I said, I'm sitting in for Vivian Kailoko. My name is Umaru Sandamadu. My guest this evening, I have my guest as last week, Sami Wiafi and Salom Kojo. I don't know, Salom will be joining us in a bit. But let me start off with Sami Wiafi. He's our correspondent at the presidency. Sami, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Umaru.
How has the week been for you?
It's been good.
It's been good. As journalists, we've been covering Jisu. We'll talk about Jisu, but I want to start with crime tonight. And Kasoa has gained notoriety, and I do know that the people who live there are not happy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what is happening. I remember the boy who was murdered, the little boy who was murdered for rituals. Even this issue of disappearing man who disappears, Kasoa has been the one that has been the subject of attention, everybody talking about Kasoa. And now to kill a soldier. And the sad part is that the soldier was killed in front of a police station. Very bizarre, isn't it? Very,
very, very, very. And as you mentioned, Kasoa is gradually, being known for crime or other criminal activities. And I read that statement the residents there issued in respect of this particular incident. That said that the incident happened at Millennium City, which is in the Gumwa, one of the Gumwa districts. And so it's not Kasoa per se.
Gumwa is.
So anybody linking it to Kasoa is not really the best for them. They are not excited or happy about it. Well, from my own readings and checks about this particular incident, it's about land issue. And you know how land issues and land litigation in this country has been. Government has, on several occasions, made effort or passed laws to see how best we address issues of land litigation and the rest. I remember somewhere two years ago, there was a land conference where the lands minister announced that the whole land issue, drawing up new land laws that would deal with issues of land guards and the land processes in Ghana, empowering the Lands Commission and all the agencies involved to ensure that this issue of land guards, are put behind us. But it looks as if little has been done in respect of this. My reading of the story is that the police or the soldier or the military officer who was shot did not even own the land. I understand he had gone to accompany a friend, or I think a brother or a friend of his, to this said property. And then when they got there were a few litigations here and there as to the real ownership or who really owns the land. And out of anger and the rest, this gentleman who has been arrested by the police, and we understand he's a sub-chief within the Gomwa, enclave, brought out a gun, and in the course of the arguments, shot this gentleman we are talking about. I happened to see the video of this body sitting behind his steering of the vehicle, you know, and he was gone. You could see blood oozing from his head, and then from my understanding, it looks like he was shot through the head. The more reason why, you know, he went off and then blood was oozing out. The police have intervened strictly and arrested the gentleman in question. As to whether he's been processed for court already, we do not know. But Sana, this is one too many instances where we've seen land guards, you know, parading in this country in the name of protecting their lands. And it goes strong about, you know, how lands are bought in Ghana. You know, you buy a land. I'm a victim of this thing. So when I bought a piece of land somewhere, apparently land has been sold to like 4 people already, and I was the 5th person.
Wow.
And when you are gone there to do development, you get there and then someone is doing something on the land that you have bought. Even though you have the papers, indenture and the rest, you go there and you have people developing the land that you have bought. Now I understand that.
Where did this happen?
I won't disclose that to you.
Because I've heard this joke that in lots of places when you buy land, someone, in fact, especially Kasoa, that you buy the land, someone comes to dig foundation, you come and lay the blocks. Yeah. Someone comes to continue. It's the one who roofs that is really the owner of the place. So it's almost like everybody's contributing some.
It happens all the time, Omaro. And you buy a land from this particular family, you go on the land to go and work, and then another family will come and say, okay, you know, they are the rightful owners of this particular land, so you must pay to us. You do those payments, and then another badge will come. So just a plot of land, you end up paying to about 4 or 5 families.
So they can have your peace of mind.
Who are all claiming ownership of this. If you are not lucky, they've sold this same land to another person who has hired the services of tax to protect this land. And so when you go there to go and work, you see these thugs coming out from wherever they are, coming to attack you and your workers for developing a land they claim is not yours, but it's another property of somebody. So it happens several times in many parts of this country. And this is not something new. I know somewhere in the Amasama, Asalaja area there, it's deadly. When it comes to this, it's very, very deadly. I know a friend of mine who has suffered from such activity. He later on, like my case, I gave the land away. You know, I gave it up because there was no way. My life was more important than, you know, following up a piece of land and then, you know. So it's one too many. And in some instances, the police have been called in to help, and they are helpless. And they are helpless in these instances. So you ask yourself, how best can you protect a land that you have bought? You've gone to the Lands Commission to go and do search, as they call it. You know the owners, you've gone to see the owners. Normally it's either the family or a royal family somewhere who sell these lands to you. And later on, individuals will rather come and say they rather own the land. It's a whole milky affair. And I feel it's about time, you know, government acts. I've heard, you know, a very seasoned lawyer, Kwame Jan, who is, you know, an expert in land litigation and land matters in Ghana, who has proposed several times how best we can deal with these issues of land guard, and no one seems to be hearing. And the military man's own is what we have heard. There are a number of them we do not hear.
Yeah, and they kill them.
And they kill them secretly, and they go and throw them somewhere. So had it not been a military man, I'm not sure anybody else would have known what really has happened to this gentleman. You wake up one morning and say, oh, you're going to see what's happening on the land, and you don't come back home again. You leave your families behind. So it's about time we check this thing. If we are buying lands, who do we buy from? The family, the clan? It's complicated. And officials at the Lands Commission sometimes also do not help. You go and do your search, they'll tell you the land is clean, but later you go and realize that this same land belongs to somebody else. But officials at the Lands Commission will not really tell you who owns this particular property. It's really difficult for young men who want to, you know, raise structures for themselves and their families, and land has become a serious matter. The more reason why most investors do not want to stay in this country, because when they buy lands for investment in this country, you see all these land guards and land litigations coming up. At the end of the day, they give up and then they will take their monies to other countries. So I feel governments over the years have tried to do something about land guards, landgasm, or whatever they call it. I know very well that the police headquarters set up a whole unit that should check land guards. As to the successes of it, we do not know. Whether they are doing their best to address this issue, we do not know. Land grabbing here and there, grabbing properties here and there, is really a difficult matter. I feel it's about time, all those involved should help address this matter. May the soul of the military officer rest in peace.
I have said in the past that we should, and I know it's not practical in law, but to give all our lands to our district assemblies or local assemblies to administer and sell. That way, when you have a receipt from, say, Ayawaso West municipality, you do know that they are the ones who have the right to sell the land. Unfortunately, that is not the situation. The law does not guarantee that, because ownership of land has been stated, and if you don't own, you cannot sell. Salam, you are the lawyer. We do have the Land Act of 2020. We also know that there's this whole issue about land guards. I think when the vigilante law was being created, there was something around land guards also to be dealt with. And yet we have that. Now, there's someone who has made the argument. For instance, this gentleman who runs Enoch Holdings, Clemens Jato, he has defined land guards, and he said there's nothing wrong with being a land guard. He does that. He says if you own your land and you guard it, you are a land guard. So he doesn't think there's a problem with land guard. Is this something we can do away with? If I have a land and someone is frustrating me, don't I have the right to employ people to guard that land? And if they become land guards, is that criminal per se?
Well, that's an interesting question, and it was one of the matters I intended to raise. The Vigilantism and Related Offences Act of 2019, Act 999, Section 11 of that law defines who a land guard is. And look at the definition. It says that a land guard means a person who uses violence or threat of violence to protect or guard land or property belonging to that person or another person. So if I have my property and I guard it, people want to come on the property and I fight to protect my land. I have a constitutional right to protect my life and property. So you have to now think about marrying that constitutional right against this thing that the law is calling land guardism, or who a land guard is. I think we have treated these matters with kids' gloves. We have not been bold enough to deal with these matters. So when the vigilantism and all of those things started happening, I mean, our approach was just to pass the law. So the law was passed and everybody's gone to sleep. But that law has not properly dealt with the issue of land guardism. The land guardism, as we have it today, is a symptom of a deeper problem in society. So there's a problem of greed, there's a problem of frustration about, the inertia of institutions in dealing with problems like that. There is also the problem of lack of trust in security agencies or other state institutions, like the courts, like the Lands Commission, like other bodies. Okay, there's also, so the slow pace of the judicial process, part of the institutions. So if all these underlying institutions are churning out problems or are churning out problems, and one of those problems is land guardism, you can't just go and say you are dealing with the land guardism and then everything should be fine. No, it cannot be. You must deal with the root. Once you deal with the root, the symptoms will disappear. That's how it works. So what we've been doing all along is trying to deal with the symptom of the problem without curing the problem itself. In the first place, how come we have land guards? And if we have laws which are punitive enough and deterrent enough, why do we keep having them? When was the last time you heard somebody's been jailed because the person is a land guard? You don't hear it, but the law is there. So until we start doing the right things, we'll continue having these problems. So I recall...
So the title of the law you just read is land guard.
It's vigilantism and other and related offences.
So then they put land guard under.
So the other related offences.
And this was passed in
2019. After the Ayawaso West War and all of that, then they passed this law, as we do in Ghana. There's a problem. Instead of dealing with the problem, the first thing is to quickly create a law, and then we think we've solved it. So we take credit for creating the law. But the law itself, I mean, the law cannot work on its own. And then which people use the vigilantes? They are the powerful people in society. It's not somebody who buys his land, small money here. No, it's the powerful people in society who use the land guards. Okay, so the land guards sometimes have comfort because they know that if you arrest them, nothing will happen to them. And indeed, the gentleman in question, the sub-chief also, we are told from the Kasuwa case, we hear that he tells everybody in the area that nothing will happen, he can kill you, nobody will do anything to him. Why does he talk like that? He talks like that because he has people backing him. No ordinary person will talk like that. And indeed, for those who think that what he threatens, he just threatens it for nothing, Now this is your proof.
proven
He can kill you. So if this had happened somewhere in the bush, he would have killed that soldier. Nobody would have known. Tomorrow would have woken up to hear that, okay, a soldier was killed in the bush somewhere, and that's it. Nobody will even connect it to land matters. But this one, killing the person in the bush is a certain level of boldness. Killing the person in town is another level of boldness. And killing the person in town, broad daylight, and in front of a police station
makes it worse.
It's worse. It means it's gone off the roof.
Yeah.
It means there is no limit to what human beings can do in respect of, getting things like this. So,
and he's even killing the guy who is not the owner of the land, like
yes.
Sami has already said.
So maybe because it's come like soldiers. So I have issues with people going to lands with soldiers, etc. I don't think that's the work of soldiers. But in this case, it appears is it a brother of
relative of the owner or friends to the owner?
I think we need to probe that relative to. In Ghana, everybody is a relative. We need to probe that relative. You see, I have issues with soldiers, people going to take soldiers to go on lands to protect. If you bring a soldier to my land, I don't fear, because the soldier, what will he will come and shoot me? He cannot just shoot me. He can't take the land because it is not his job. You understand? So I don't understand why people do so. Maybe they do so to scare people who don't understand, who don't know the law.
I guess the soldiers are brought in to neutralize the land guards, because the land guards are armed. And so, like Samia said, the police has a unit that's supposed to... I remember when Dapaah was regional commander of Accra, it was one of the agenda he was pushing, trying to fight that. Now, if the land guards are not afraid of the police, then you have to bring the soldiers in. So it's a soldier against the land guard.
So the land guards are there every day. The soldiers are not there every day. They will come once in a while. You can't get the soldiers there every day. In fact, when they are coming, they are looking over their shoulders because they are not supposed to be there in the first place. The land guards, they are there. You don't even see they are in the bush or they are there.
Riding their motorbikes.
Right? So it's a problem. My view is that it's a problem we must solve. We must solve the problem. There's a multiple ownership of lands. However, we came to that point, I'm not sure. Multiple ownership of lands because we do not document things. So the boundaries, for example, used to be known, but because of developments, etc., we don't know the boundaries anymore. So you knew before that the boundary was here, but now you don't know where the boundary is. So a very large tract of land, you don't know who it belongs to. So the guys who come from this side are selling. The guys who come from the other side are also selling, because that has become like a no man's land. That is where the problem comes from. We must deal with that. I recall Kwame Jan one time talking about some of the consultations and stakeholder engagements they had with chiefs and family heads, etc., when they were trying to work on the New Lands Act. He said they got to a time, some of the meetings, they couldn't make progress because families were fighting, sometimes fisticuffs. So they had to close the meetings and go because everybody was laying claim to the land. There should be some regulation. So
the Act doesn't bring a solution to this ownership crisis, because it is clear, Alodia owners and all of those things have been stated in there.
Yeah, but
I have this idea that give it to the government through the local assembly to administer, but that would be difficult.
No, that would be difficult. So you see, if I don't know how the land act, you have land, I have land, huge, acres upon acres, thousands of acres. And there should be a boundary. But that boundary is no more. Maybe they use trees or some pillars. Development has caught up with the place, some buildings and things have come around. So those pillars or those trees, you can't find them again. And those guys who knew, the old guys who knew the real boundaries, they are dead and gone. So the younger ones will just, okay, our land ends somewhere around here. Once it's somewhere around here, it's an area. So there are plots or quite a number of acres in that area. Anybody goes there to sell. So I sell to you. Sami also comes to sell to you because he believes, rightly or wrongly, that is his place. I also think it's mine. Now, I sell to you. He comes and no, it's not his. He also says it's not yours. He sells to somebody else. Now the two of you have been left in the middle. You have to fight. Now when you go to court, the court will now have to determine who really owned the place. The court will have to trace what we call your root of title. Who owned the place, and where did you get it from? So if your grantor or the one who sold it to you owns the place, then it means that you are the owner. You are the owner.
You are legitimate.
You are legitimate because you'd have bought it from the right source. A lot of these are happening. So sometimes there are land cases that stay in court for about 10 years and all of that. And people don't have that time.
Recently there was a decision of the court that lands that were, is it the whole of, like 70% of lands in Accra belong to a certain family.
That's Well, so
I think
I
that
think
came
it's
up recently.
Is it a boys too?
And this would have taken a long time to have been determined.
Yes.
So you bought the land from someone you thought was the rightful owner. Now this decision comes, and it's a bit confusing.
Yeah. So the whole issue about the land thing must be dealt with. There's greed in there. There is inertia. There's lack of interest from the powers that be because they are beneficiaries of that chaos. So they will not solve it. Okay. Sami talked about Lands Commission. The Lands Commission is a body supposed to do a lot of things. Yes, they do good things. But sometimes you do a search. At the time you did the search, there is no information there. So you'll be told that there is no information. Maybe the time you did the search, just when you left, the information came. And they are working. They are working. So the fact that, so they will tell you that the search was as of this time. If something happens after that, you can't blame anybody because they are working. If somebody comes to register a land just after you left, I mean, you can't do anything about that.
But the double sale part, can you have the person arrested, one of the double sellers? Or
of course, it's a crime to engage in double sale of land. Okay.
What if they're both owners? They both claim ownership. So,
Yeah,
they're not seeing it as double sale.
Yes. So the double sale actually happens when I sell the land to you and I sell it to Sami as well, the same person.
Okay.
So I sell one piece of land to two people.
But multiple sellers.
But if you are both interested parties and you are claiming from different sides, the court will have to determine who owns it. Okay. So that determination is what takes time sometimes. And so we have injunctions, we have a lot of things coming in and all of that. But it has to be solved. The land administration project 1 and 2, Lands Commission. I mean, it's not helping. And you see, ownership of land is key. It's wealth. Land is wealth. And when you go to UK and those other places, the aristocrats owned lands. They owned a lot of lands, prime lands. That was what gave them their wealth and their status. So you can't be a very rich person, I mean, quite a controversial point to make, without having lands.
Owning land.
So a lot of the rich people in Ghana, you see them on TV, wherever, they own lands. And when you go, you see how they are fighting around East Legon, Pantan, Chado, and all those places, because they want land. And so because of the powerful people in the sector, they are the people who sit around the table to make the laws. And if they are in there, would they make laws to disadvantage themselves? No, that is the sad part.
So, I mean, if even a soldier, I mean, we're going to take a quick break, but if even the soldier has been shot dead, then it means you are a private civilian, owning land is going to be scary, isn't it?
Very.
And that's why you had to run away from your land.
I gave it out, Sandra, because on 3 occasions, as I went there, I saw people developing on the land I have bought. And I realized that it's not worth it.
You should have gone to court.
It wasn't worth it.
Really?
The time, I just gave it out because one, they are threatening me that I shouldn't step foot on the land again. And what more is it again that a land guard will threaten you? Just go, I have a family, let me go and think.
And you had given money to somebody.
I paid.
You should have gone to take your money.
I've given papers, I was given indenture on all those things, went to the Lands Commission to go and do all the search. It was clean. Also it looked.
No, but wait, what, because something due diligence, what due diligence did you do on that?
But that's what he did. He went to do the search.
No, if you go to Lands Commission alone, it's not enough.
What
else
else?
again?
No, you see, you have to...
The family I bought from?
You have to investigate the root of title. The family you bought for claim it was theirs. Another family somewhere is claiming it's
but
theirs.
that's too
No, but so...
You're a private buyer.
So the private buyer must not be indolent. You must be vigilant. You must be up to it. Else you suffer things like this.
I really think there should be some centralized means of, even though the ownership of land is left to stools and families, I think there should be a system. The Land Commission should
digitized.
Should be the vendor of land.
If even that system exists, okay, there'll still be situations where there'll be double sale of land. We are greedy people. We are bad people. We don't want things to work. Okay. So we just have to strengthen institutions. People who fall foul of the law must be dealt with. They must be punished. So people see that when you do it, you'll be punished. So for example, this gentleman who is being caught, the guy who allegedly killed the guy, I'm waiting to see how the police and how the system will deal with him. You know, this is a guy who tells everybody that he doesn't fear anybody.
Because he's a sub-chief.
You know, whatever he is, he holds guns, he can kill you and nobody will do anything to him. And we understand that the police, you think the police, they don't know them? They know them.
They do.
The police know, they know them. The powerful people in society know them. They go to them, they have conversations with them. That's why they will tell you that, this guy, if you go and report him, nothing will happen to him. Because they know them. So the system itself must be purged. The system must be patched. People must not stay at one place for a long time, like police, for example. They must not stay at one place for a long time. They must be moved around. And a whole lot of things must happen. So no matter what you do, if the human factor is not dealt with, it will be difficult.
You're watching what the papers are saying on Citi TV. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll look at other big stories that we've been following for you. And indeed, the newsprint has been following too this week. Stay with us. You're welcome back. You're watching what the papers are saying on Citi TV. Another story of interest this week, the Jisu by-election. We talked about it last week. So the MPP's Boateng was retained. He managed to gain the most votes. He's first past the post when it comes to parliamentary elections, and so he has won. But Eduomi, a former MP for the area, gave him a run for his money. Sami, let me start with you. You know much about the Jisu constituency. There were predictions that was going to be a slim margin. Musa Dankwa gave that prediction. It wasn't a slim margin in the sense of the word, but it was a tough election. It was. And
Eduomi, who was the independent candidate, there were three of them, but he was the leading independent candidate, really gave the MPP a run for its money. Anybody within the MPP will admit to you that it was a tough one for them. The adoption and the use of the party machinery and the government machinery helped to win the seat or retain the seat for the party again with the introduction of Kwabena Boateng, who was a first-time member or first-timer when it comes to appearance on the ballot for the MPP, replacing the late John Kuma. I said that this election was an MPP versus an MPP election. It was two MPP affair because Eduomi was a member of parliament on the ticket of the party. He rose to become a deputy minister on the ticket of the party when the party was in government and still in government. And so you couldn't rule him out. He served as a member of parliament on 3 different occasions. And so you will still have his footprint within the constituency. Major projects can be attributed to him within the Jisu constituency. So he wasn't really a pushover. And bringing a new person who is Kwabena Boateng, even though he was serving as a second constituency chairperson, when it comes to experience and thinking, Eduomi was fired, but the use of the party machinery helped them in one way or the other. This should be a wake-up call for the MPP and deal with issues of independent candidates ahead of the December election. If the MPP sits down and say, oh, after all, the party will win, it will be a tough challenge for them, because it has emerged that in 2008 alone, the MPP, in Ashanti region, after the election, there was this research or report carried out by the party to look at the factors that contributed to the party's inability to retain power after the exit of Akufo-Addo. And it came out that over 500,000 registered supporters of the MPP did not vote in the Ashanti region alone, which is considered the stronghold of the party. The late John Evans at Tamils won that election by, I think, 40,000 votes or so. So assuming even half of this population in Ashanti region had voted, the MPP would have continued in office with the introduction of Nana Akufo-Addo as the presidential candidate and then president then. Now, the MPP finds itself in the same scenario in this year's election. The party wants to break the 8. And in breaking the 8, you need everybody on board. You need to bring everybody. And the party's recent, the January's parliamentary primaries in constituency with sitting members of parliament was not all that smooth. There are a lot of bitterness, anger, disgruntled members here, and especially the members of parliament who lost. And I know a few who have said that they want to run as independent candidates in these respective constituencies that they lost. So assuming that someone who's been MP for 2 or 3 terms decides to run as an independent candidate in a constituency considered to be a stronghold of the party, it means there's trouble for the party. The more reason why the national chairman has seen the trouble ahead. That's why he says the party was going to carry out a reconciliation, trip across the country.
So the MPP must make sure that Eduomi doesn't go independent again in December.
They must talk to him. They must
because
talk to him.
It will be a big problem.
A big problem, because because a by-election, normally the turnout in a by-election is not that high in a general election.
This one was less than 50%.
It was less than, because, and moreover, I had a voter population of 106,000. And so if you have less than 50,000 coming out to vote, then you must know why. And those who voted for a DME are MPP supporters. No two ways about that. These are MPP supporters because NDC did not take part in this election. You could say that maybe NDC supporters also joined. But in the last election, NDC had like 14,000, only 14,000 votes in that constituency. And so if, assuming the NDC supporters stayed away, and the 21,000 that Idomi had on Tuesday, these are all clearly MPP supporters who came out to vote for him. Now, if the party does not check or talk to him to maybe want to rescind the decision from contesting in December, he's yet to speak about his future though. But a politician as it is, he may want to give another shot. And if the MPP should sit down and allow him to take that other shot, it may affect the party in the Jisu constituency. The MPP is hoping to break the 8. It needs all voters within the constituency or even across the country, and especially its stronghold with the Ashanti region, to all come on board and help governance vote for the flag bearer of the party, Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia. Umar, I've said that in this election, there is the parliamentary candidates who are going to win the election for the MPP, and I will explain why. In 2016, Nana Akufo-Addo won the election for parliamentary candidates because Nana Akufo-Addo was the individual who Ghanaians were really yearning for. They wanted a new person. His promises, people thought that he was, the man who was going to do the job here and there. So anybody who associated with Nana Akufo-Addo was seen as the golden boy or the star. And so it helped him one way or the other, or the parliamentary candidate, to vote for. Automatically, if the person is voting for Akufo-Addo, there's a likelihood that he will vote for the parliamentary candidate. Now, in 2024, in December, it's a different scenario altogether. The government does not look good. The government's popularity is waning. Economic challenges, complaints here and there. Dumsor.
So the national party is not. So the national party is not attractive.
Now the onus lies on the parliamentary candidates to galvanize support for themselves and the presidential aspirants. So in campaigning in their localized area, they are campaigning for the presidential candidate as well. So if they're able to garner more votes for them and consider the people in their constituency to also vote for their candidates, that will be the trigger for the MPP. But if it's the other way around, then there will be more trouble for the MPP. The party said they put in place enough strategy to win the election. December is a few months away. We'll see how it goes. But the MPP must bring all disgruntled members on board to ensure that it gets the unity that it wants, bring all the voters out. That's everything that a political party that wants to break the 8 will do to win. Mind you, the NDC is also down there really campaigning. They elected their flag bearer somewhere last year. They have their running mate. The MPP doesn't have running mate till now. We're told that's going to happen some time ago. Till now, we do not know what's happening. And so that one alone is a deficiency for the MPP going into the election. Because if you select a running mate now, looking at the time to election, we are about 7, we are in May, so let's say 7 months to election. When will the running mate go around the country, market him or herself to the Ghanaian populace and help with the advancement of the party's ideology and agenda for the next election? So MPP is in a difficult position. The more reason why you should not leave any stone unturned to ensure that you bring everybody on board, especially those who are planning to run as independent parliamentary candidates.
Salom, this election, the by-election, was very crucial because the numbers in parliament, in fact, effectively, as we speak, NDC is in the minority, because it used to be 137, 137. John Kuma is gone, so NDC is now 137, MPP is 136. Of course, the independent candidates caucusing with them, but technically speaking, MPP is in the minority. So you realize that they couldn't push anything in parliament for now until they get this replacement. So the replacement is crucial for them. It's a win for them. It's necessary. They have the single majority. The president made that point. But the struggle they went through to get these candidates to be elected portends problem for them, especially in their own home constituency or home region.
Well, yes. I mean, it's a reality of the situation. I mean, governments lose popularity, usually in their second term. When you're coming, people like you, they think you are the guy. First term, your popularity wanes. Second term, 1, people become fatigued with you. 2, some of your appointees begin to misbehave. Sometimes they get tired of the power. they behave in ways which people may describe as arrogant. They don't care about many things. Some of them would have been in power for a long time without amassed enough wealth, and it will show in how they behave. And it's not like a one-party state. Opposition will also be there pushing. And by 8 years, you'd have made mistakes. No matter how well-intentioned you are, you would have made some mistakes. And the job of the opposition is to amplify those mistakes. Whilst you want to amplify your positives, the opposition will be amplifying your mistakes. So it becomes difficult if your mistakes become not necessarily more than your positives, but the mistakes become a lot, because the opposition there will have a lot of things to list and to expand. And people, if you do good, people don't really care, because that's what they expect. You said you were coming to build so-and-so, and you've built it. Yes, so that's fine. But if you don't build it, that is when it's a problem. So you may do a lot of good, but the good may not be as huge as the mistakes or the problems you would have faced. Okay, so I'm not surprised that, you know, second terms usually governments suffer. But in the specific case of Jisu, which is a very stronghold of the MPP, I think the MPP should be quite concerned about the outcome of the polls. Of course, it's a by-election, and by-elections have always had issues with turnout, etc. I think the turnout was around 49% or so.
Yeah, it was 49%.
Yes, but it should be concerning to the MPP. One, because of the person they are seeking to replace, or they replaced, John Kuma. His death engulfed the whole country. Everybody was talking about it. People felt it. People who didn't even know him or who knew him casually felt his death, a lot of sympathy. So you would expect that they would have ridden on that sympathy to do a good job. You may not have the 80% and co John Kuma had, but you should be able to win the election quite comfortably. And look at how the whole state machinery was moved to that town. Jisu, the president, vice president, everybody
Chief of staff
was there. Just in an election, the NDC was not contesting. In an election between yourself and an independent candidate or yourself. Okay. And I don't know Idomi very well, but of course he's been deputy minister, he's been MP for some time, etc. If he was that popular, he would have beaten John Kuma, but he couldn't beat John Kuma. All right. So it really tells a lot about what the MPP should be looking at whilst they approach the next election. This happening in their stronghold should make them quickly want to go around, sit around the table, re-strategize, ask themselves the hard questions. It will not be a time to be telling yourself nice things. Ask yourself the hard questions and provide the hard answers. And after that, you hit the ground running and then try and solve the problems. Cost of living is high. And if you go to the market, they don't sell to you as an MPP person differently from an NDC person. It's the same for everybody. Even if you're an MPP person, you cannot even complain, because when you complain, they'll tell you it's your government. So things are tough. The DDEP, etc. You know, people's finances have been hit badly. You know, there are no jobs. It is not a very pretty situation. So the MPP must really sit up and do something. I wonder what they can do in the next 6-7 months before the election. But it gives them a reality check of what is to come. I would have wished that we had a by-election like this in perhaps in a 50-50 constituency or in a swing constituency
to make a determination
to see how it's going to be.
So quickly tied to the election is what we saw the Kwadaso Member of Parliament, Kingsley Nyako, do, giving money to Electoral Commission staff, and he did that in the afternoon in the glare of the cameras. And the Electoral Commission said he told them it was for lunch. And his party has come up to defend it, that he's just taking care of people. What's wrong with that? Well,
you should expect his party to take care, to defend him, given the politics we play in Ghana. They may know it's wrong, okay, very wrong, but they will defend it. Is a party telling us that if it was an NDC person in an election like that who was giving money to, not your delegates, giving money to officials of the EC, they would have kept quiet and they would have said that, okay, he was giving them lunch. The idea about the lunch was an afterthought. Or even if it's not an afterthought, if I'm giving you money on a day like that, I won't tell you that I'm bribing you or I'm giving it to you so that you are favorable.
It's implied.
I won't say, nobody will say that. So if I tell you I'm giving you, why? Are you the one, you provide me lunch? You don't provide me lunch. Did they ask you for lunch? They did not ask you for lunch. If you ask them, have you eaten, and they say no, it doesn't mean you should provide them lunch. The Electoral Commission has a duty to provide these people food. And they did. So what was your business in going to provide them lunch? And was it not premeditated? Was it not something that he thought about? Because he had the money in an envelope, spoke to the people, he didn't know the cameras would pick him, and the cameras picked him up in a very interesting manner. A journalist was giving his report, and something was happening there, So it's sad, it's terrible, and by now I was expecting that the security agencies would have called him for an interview to see how things would go.
He hasn't been called. Sammy, EC has suspended the 2 people who were involved. That's all they can do, right? But the demand for the arrest of the MP, you thought that should have happened by now?
Well, the EC says that the police are also investigating these 2 officers of theirs. I had a member of parliament speak. He said he's done nothing wrong. He doesn't see what he did as something wrong. He issued a statement this morning reiterating the same point he made on Tuesday, that he was just helping out. These are officers who've been there from morning till the afternoon. He felt that as a good Samaritan as he is, he wanted to help them, get some food here and there, but doesn't find anything wrong with it. Many people have called on the NDC, for instance, wants the police to investigate the matter, call the MP and question. That's what we are expecting. Already the AC is under fire from every concerned person as far as this election is concerned. Already the NDC, are on their neck, accusations that they are trying to rig the election for one party ahead of the December process. So if a member of parliament on the ticket of the MPP does that, the fear is that in December, they may see similar things. And so the EC must act fast on it.
This is what the papers are saying on Citi TV. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Dumsor. Please stay. You're welcome back. You're watching what the papers are saying on Citi TV. Last week when I finished this show and went home, I found that my neighborhood was in darkness. In fact, several communities before I go home were in darkness, and I slept in darkness that night. The light was off throughout the day, the following day. And that is the situation in many homes across the country. We call it Dumsor. The government says it's Dumsor. Actually, I'm not giving it any name at all. Yesterday at the MayDay celebrations, the president spoke and said Dumsor was over, and he said that for the whole of the day before yesterday, there was no load shedding witnessed anywhere. I don't know, is that what's happening in the studio? Because when I asked my listeners on Eyewitness News, almost everybody was saying it was not true what the president said. Sammy, what is the situation in your neighborhood generally between yesterday and today?
I had light yesterday, the whole of yesterday, but this afternoon, this morning, as the time I was leaving home around 10 a.m., the lights were off.
It went off?
It went off, but I've been told that it's back.
Selam, how about you?
Well, I didn't have light in the morning yesterday, but I think...
and it was not because of the rains?
I don't know.
You don't
because
know.
Now you can't tell. It's just a matter of time, really. So, I mean, sometimes I get concerned for the president sometimes in the categorical manner he says things. So now, categorically, you said the thing has been resolved. Of course, we knew that there were quite deeper challenges than the matters of transformers, etc., which the PURC has debunked. And you say the transformers have the maintenance, everything has been done, and so Dumsor is over, very categorically stated. I'm happy that it's over, if that's what it is. But you see, some of these matters, it's like what we say about pregnancy. You can't hide it. It's just a matter of time, it will show. So a few days later, we will see whether the problem has been resolved or not. And if it has not been resolved, and he's told us it's been resolved, then it only goes further to dent his credibility. Mind you, in the past, he told us he was going to do this. It won't happen. He may be well-intentioned, but if you have a lot of these repeating themselves, there'll be no haircut, there'll be no that, there'll be no... But one after the other, they've all turned out to be the opposite.
We'll not go to IMF.
We will not go to IMF. We are in IMF, and now we are glorying and happy about IMF. And all of that. It doesn't just add to your credibility. So this is yet another test. And I wouldn't have said it. I would have said we were working on it, and very soon things will be over. So that by the time you say it, the people would have said, oh, the thing is over. Mm-hmm. There's nothing like the experience itself. If you are telling me one thing, the experience is different, I mean, maybe it's a politician, and politicians may not really care about that. But I think that he could have taking his time, so we are sure that it's solved before. But people will even say it before he says it.
But he's the man at the top.
But he's always been the man at the top.
I'm sure they've given him all the
You're
assurances.
giving a proper briefing and
No,
everything.
but didn't he have a proper briefing before he said there will be no haircut? In fact, he said it emphatically. Said there will be no haircut. All right? Didn't he have a briefing before he told us there will be no IMF? So he should actually check the guys around him who brief him, because they don't tell him the full picture. Because there are some things you can't do anything about. If it's not working, it's not working.
It's not working.
It will show.
You can't pretend.
You can't do anything about
So
it.
the
The
fact
economy
that
was bad. You said there will be no haircut. Emphatically stated.
The national
But
broadcast.
the haircut which came, Charlie Punk and Punk, you do it. He said there will be no IMF. Everybody was calling for IMF. He said, no, there will be no IMF. Here we are. You are telling that Dumsor is ended. No problem. No problem. We are happy it's ended because it takes the stress away. It takes the extra expenses away. But it's just a matter of time. If it doesn't happen, I'm happy. But if it's not the case, I worry for his credibility.
Salam, Samir rather, Dumsor is a bad thing for the government at this time of the day, isn't it?
Very, very. Some few months to the election and a campaign message in the last election that got the government of John Mahama out of it. The more reason why they were unable to give us a timetable, because when the timetable comes, there's a clear admission then that Dumsor is back.
But that's playing the ostrich. For me,
and Ghanaians will never forgive any government that puts us in darkness.
but the point is that the fact that you haven't given us timetable doesn't mean we are not seeing. It's not like when the pie is out.
It's exactly the problem I'm talking about.
I see the pie is out.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me it's Dumsor.
What they feel is political communication.
Which is what?
If a timetable officially.
Charles,
Hold
we are in this communication business, right? If you came to me to tell me that because of A, B, and C, this is happening, we should bear with you. It will be soon. It will be over soon, or maybe because of the financial crisis, ABC, we are not able to do ABC, but things will happen soon. It's better. People empathize.
We're all surprised to hear that, because already we're all counting the days after the board chair of ECG and Deputy Energy Minister said that Dumsor will end in some few days. So we're all counting the few days that he was talking about. Until yesterday, when the man at the top really said that it is over, and then even as at Tuesday, there was no load shedding in the entire country.
Yeah,
and a lot of people took him on, because people had even said that even at the moment that he was speaking, the lights were off.
I don't even understand it. How could you
lights were
because
off.
there was no outage.
There was
the day before. The thing is over.
The ECG issued a statement. Is it today or yesterday?
That it was
announcing that due to the flood.
No, but now we don't know that.
That's why some areas were off, because they were flooding in their substations.
Now we don't know that, and we don't care about that. Okay.
All you want is the light.
There's no difference between light off or outage due
or transformer fault.
Transformer or a Dumsor or whatever. What that matters is that the light is there or it's not there. Okay. So if just one day in your briefing the whole country had light, and so because of that, I come and stand on national platform to say the thing is over. At least wait for a few more days and test the system.
We don't have time.
Wait for a few more days and test the system.
Akufo-Addo said to you, is a man in a hurry. In fact, we have to wrap up, but this was my prayer last week when I was signing out, that I prayed to Nana Dudam Akufo-Addo that when I get home, there should not be doom. So unfortunately, that prayer was not answered. Tonight, I pray again as I drive home that please, let me not get home and sweat. I need to do some reading. I have an exam to write. Please, 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 Addo Showboy, I want to believe what you said yesterday at MayDay celebration in the presence of Ghanaian workers is really going to be the situation. So help us, God. We are done for today. We'll be back next week. Thank you for watching. Stay watching Citi TV. It's your world.